Howdy folks, I'm Siege with 3 E's, coming at you live from... If you're like me, you really like bizarre conspiracy theories, but the person you used to get all your conspiracy theory information from has been cancelled off the face of the planet, leaving your hunger for the weirdest and wildest theories unquenched. Fortunately for you, the most recent Minecraft snapshots have caves that I think are pretty freaking dope and set the perfect vibe for a conspiracy theory video. So, I'm going to be telling you about some of my favorite out there conspiracy theories. For the record, I don't actually believe these theories, nor do I condone harmful rumor spreading or misinformation. I just think they're fun to talk about. The first theory I'm going to talk about is a pretty vanilla theory. It's been around for several decades and was popularized by conspiracy theorist Robin Gardner in his book Titanic, the ship that never sank. The theory suggests that the RMS Titanic actually never set sail in 1912 and was instead replaced by its sister ship, the Olympic, which had been damaged in a collision in 1911. In order to recover the money lost while the Olympic was being repaired, the owners of the two ships, White Star Line, planned to send the Olympic out instead of the Titanic, before purposefully sinking it and claiming compensation. This theory is supported by the fact that, while it was being built, the Titanic reportedly had 14 portholes, but when it was sent out, it had 16, just like the Olympic. It also ties into the theory that J.P. Morgan, one of the owners of the Titanic, fell ill just before the Titanic set off and canceled his trip, despite appearing in public just 2 days later in seemingly perfect health. This next theory is a bit more lighthearted. It claims that Canadian actor Keanu Reeves is actually immortal. This theory is mostly based on the fact that in the past 30 years, especially between the 1990s and the 2000s, he doesn't appear to have aged much. He also never denied being immortal. Another aspect of this theory is Keanu Reeves' past lives. According to theorists, Keanu Reeves was both Charlemagne, a Roman emperor, and Paul Monet, a French actor. Charlemagne and Paul Monet have two things in common. Both look an awful lot like Keanu Reeves, and both had very suspicious deaths. One very strange and also unlikely theory is that children's author Lewis Carroll, who is known for his books Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, is infamous serial killer Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper was active in the late 1880s and early 1890s, when Lewis Carroll was in his 50s. There isn't much evidence to support this theory, other than the fact that they coexisted in the same nation around the same time, and that Lewis Carroll is regarded by some historians as having a few less than pleasant interests and tendencies. In his book, Jack the Ripper, Light-Hearted Friend, Richard Wallace claims that letters from certain passages in Lewis Carroll's books could be rearranged to form confessions. For example, a passage from Carroll's book, The Nursery Alice, which reads, "So she wandered away through the wood, carrying the ugly little thing with her, and a great job it was to keep hold of it. It wriggled about so, but at last she found out that the proper way was to keep tight hold of its left foot and its right ear," was rearranged to, "She wriggled about so, but at last Dodgson and Bain found a way to keep hold of the fat little," derogatory term for women. "I got a tight hold of her and slit her throat, left ear to right. It was tough, wet, disgusting too. So weary of it, they threw up." Jack the Ripper. Of course, this could be done with just about any selection of words, but it does make you think. This next theory is absolutely wild. You may have heard of the very popular theory that Paul McCartney, co-lead vocalist and bassist of the Beatles, died back in 1966. But this theory takes that a step further. It suggests that the Beatles never even existed. Or at least, each member of the Beatles has been played by different people over the years. The proof? They don't always look the same in pictures. Yeah, this one isn't very plausible. These disparities could be caused by different types of cameras, different angles, and even just plain aging. That doesn't make it any less interesting, though. While the concept of cloned human beings, especially back in the 60s, is a little bit ridiculous, would it really be that surprising if a band as influential as the Beatles was more than it appeared to be on the surface? The Large Hadron Collider, the world's most powerful accelerator and largest machine, has inspired many insane theories over the past few years. It It would take me a long time to go over all of them in detail, but here are some notable ones. It's a time machine that produces a particle called a Higgs singlet, which can move into a fifth, non-linear dimension. It sends high-energy particles through the ground, triggering earthquakes. It causes the Mandela effect, a phenomenon where multiple people have shared false memories, often attributed to the collision of parallel universes. A similar theory suggests that when a weasel chewed into a high-voltage transformer in the Large Hadron Collider in 2016, causing the machine to short-circuit and shut down, we were blasted into a different reality. This theory is intriguing and also hilarious to me because it infers that the weasel caused 2020. A very popular and very absurd theory states that Australia doesn't exist. According to this theory, Australia was invented by Britain to cover up the execution of thousands of prisoners. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Britain claimed to be transporting criminals to Australia as punishment for their crimes. Theorists believe that this is false, and the criminals were instead drowned in the ocean. Australians are all actors. Tourists are being taken to islands near the fabricated continent made to look like Australia. Governments and airlines are all in on it. A similar theory claims that Finland doesn't exist either. It was, instead, made up by Japan and the Soviet Union to stop other nations from impinging on an excellent fishing spot in the Baltic Sea. This is a fun theory. David Bowie predicted the rise of Kanye West. Back in 1972, David Bowie released an album called The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. In this album was a song called Starman, which contains lyrics such as, "There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come up and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds." Many have speculated that this starman is Kanye West, who wouldn't be born for another 5 years. David Bowie's final album before his death, Black Star, which was released in 2016, features lyrics in its titular song that people have noticed also parallel the rise of Kanye West. Something happened on the day he died. Spirit rose a meter, then stepped aside. Somebody else took his place, and barely cried, "I'm a black star, I'm a black star." Perhaps some of the most compelling evidence in this theory is the album cover of The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, which displays David Bowie standing under a sign that reads, "K West." Here's one theory that I'd never heard about before making this video. Pet microchips, which are used to identify pets, are a sign of the apocalypse. Let's back up a little. In the biblical book of Revelation, the mark of the beast is described. The mark of the beast is the mark put by the devil on the forehead or right hand. It allows people to buy and sell, according to Revelation 13:17, and will begin to appear around Armageddon. Some people believe that the mark of the beast will come in the form of a microchip that uses radio frequencies, called radio frequency identification chips, or RFID chips, to identify people. These chips could, in the future, be used to replace credit cards and cash, allowing those with them to buy and sell. RFID chips aren't commonly used in humans yet, but they are used in pets. Because of this, a number of people believe that pet microchipping is a step towards the end of the world. We're all familiar with the theory that Area 51, a heavily restricted United States Air Force base in Nevada, contains alien life forms. A lesser-known theory about the base is that nothing happens there at all. Instead, it's being used to direct our attention away from places that are actually suspicious. This theory suggests that the government wants us to believe that there are alien autopsies, or black helicopter flights, or weaponized clouds there. They've been dropping hints and being secretive about it to control our curiosity, so that we don't notice weird occurrences elsewhere. Based on all of the theories, speculation, and the Area 51 raid meme of 2019, if this is true, it appears to be working quite well. This last theory is a fairly lighthearted one. Ever since Walt Disney died in 1966, there have been rumors that he was cryogenically frozen so that he could be revived in the future when a cure for his illness is found. These theories stemmed from a claim made by a reporter in 1967. The reporter said that they had snuck into the hospital where Walt Disney had been treated just weeks after his death, and spotted a cryogenic chamber containing Disney's body in a storage room. More recently, though, the release of Walt Disney Animation Studios' Frozen has caused people to speculate that the movie was made to dissuade the theory that Walt Disney's body was frozen. Before the movie came out, if you looked up Disney Frozen on Google, you'd find articles about the theory. However, if you look up the same phrase today, you'd only find information on the 2013 film. If it's true that Frozen was released to hide the theories, it didn't do a great job, as if you look up Walt Disney Frozen, you'll get search results about the theory. This doesn't take away the theory's plausibility, though. Frozen was based off of Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tale The Snow Queen. Most Disney movies share names with their origins, so if not to cover up the fact that Walt Disney is being preserved in a cryogenic chamber, why name the film Frozen? Those are all the theories I have for you today. This is a little different from my other videos, so please let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed it, leave a like and also subscribe, maybe. Please. I post videos every week, so remember to come back next week to see what I do. And check out my other videos if you haven't already. Later!